Today, I am joined by Eric Schenkman, founding guitarist of the Spin Doctors and one of the key creative voices behind songs like Two Princess and Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. But today's conversation is about his new solo album, 10 Smiles, a record that puts his guitar playing, songwriting, and musical personality front and center. Big thanks to Experience Vinyl for helping make this interview happen. 10 Smiles is available for pre-order through experiencevinyl.com. I'll be sure to include a link in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's jump to our chat with Eric himself. Eric, thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, man. I want to spend some time here talking about 10 Smiles because this is a new record for you, new solo project, and I had the pleasure of listening to it. And I got to be honest with you, man, I felt like the record really gives people a fuller picture of you as a songwriter, singer, guitarist, and band leader. So before we get into like the songs, I love to start with the title. Now,
Yeah.
there's 10 songs in the album. You call the album 10 Smiles? I mean, I feel like
Mhm.
that's just more than just a number of tracks. What does that title mean to you?
It comes from these two dogs, actually, these two bull terriers that were on TV in the pandemic that they grade food with lip smacks, and they give 10 lip smacks if they like it. But the key is, I'm a bull terrier guy. The key is that they like everything. So everything gets 10, right?
Everything gets 10.
So
Yeah.
the concept is basically the 10 smiles is like it's just like I've learned in life now that it's kind of zen, but if you're only capable of giving 10, then everything gets 10, man. Even if you don't like it, you're still giving it the full,
It's 10.
and then you adjust from there. So it's basically a message, it's a positivity message. It's kind of an affirmation, really, like to myself. But then, I have this one tune, you can walk all through the night, and chasing your demons out of thin air. And somehow 10 Smiles made it into the lyric. I don't know if I mistakenly said it or not. And then I was looking for a title and it just popped out.
It's popped out. Ain't that something?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Well, I love
cool.
that it's,
Plus the
yeah.
fact that the Cadillac there's a Cadillac on the cover. It's my grandfather's car, and it's rotting into the ground, and the grill looks like it's smiling.
I love that, man. Thank you. I love when titles of things are deeply personal. And I got to ask a question about the record itself because I feel like the songs from here come from a real room, not just a studio. So I'm a little bit curious how much of
Yeah,
10
they do.
Smiles was shaped. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So do you think it was more shaped playing live and then you kind of turned them into studio songs, or did you kind of like
Yeah, this
figure them
a
out and
lot.
bring them live?
Yeah, a lot. They were not written in the studio really for the most part. They were they all come from playing live. I have a weekly gig that I play in Toronto. I've been doing it for about 10 years, and so I worked out a lot of these tunes and cover tunes that I do, and other old tunes that of mine that I do. I have this kind of thing where like I'm not really a singer-songwriter. I like to play like songs repeatedly so that I so that I they so that I can look at them from different angles so that I can play them in different ways, right? And so all of these tunes have been seasoned to a certain degree. There's a couple of them that are new. I just remembered the lyric actually. Sorry, for all those that are wondering, I'm kind of just waking up. I didn't get my coffee latte. I'm just got my vinyl latte. So
Oh man.
yeah, and 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 you might walk 10 miles. It's the price you have to pay. And you might walk all through the night chasing your demons out of thin air, right? That
Love
turned
that.
into one of the verses turned into, and you might give 10 smiles. I don't know why I said it. Then I read it and I was like, that's the title of the record. So it's a lyric in the song. So the tunes in the, like, the there's a recipe, and that tune just kind of popped out. It was kind of a jam. Cadillac, I've been trying to write for like 25 years. There's a really cool story that's associated with that song, Avocado Eldorado, is it's about my grandfather's car. Do you mind if I just
Yeah,
jump?
let's hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And so this is actually a really good story. I drove down to Reseda, California with Wally Ingram one day from San Francisco in 1995, and he was going to David Lindley's house because he was working with Lindley. And for some reason, I drove down with him. I was living in San Francisco at the time, and we got down there, and we get to the house, and we walk in, and he's got this big blue Eldorado with the white interior. He's sitting in the driveway. And I walk in, and he's pretty much a hero of mine anyway. So I get this opportunity to meet this great guitar player, David Lindley. I walk in. Wally's like, "This is David. David, this is Eric." I'm like, "Hey, man, you know." And I said, my grandfather has the same car, only it's an Avocado Eldorado. And he said, "Avocado Eldorado, that's a song you should write." And so that was like in 1995. And it only took, 30 years.
Well, you've been busy, Eric. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But finally, man, so that tune came out of that. So there's an example. I mean, that lyric and the lyric in that tune is like the guy in the song is like a combination of my grandpa and this old dude that I bought an old farm from about 25 years ago. I've since sold that place, but it's sort of this hybrid old man, and the car is my grandfather's car. I used to ride in that car with him, and it's sort of a deeply personal lyric. I didn't even realize how like personal and autobiographical it was. So there's a lot of real depth in this record, and then there's like songs like Recipe, which are, much more like off the cuff, spitting out the lyric just out of my mouth and then kind of figuring out what it was about, like, after the fact.
But let's talk about that for a moment, right? Because Recipe opens up the album. It's your
Yeah.
first single. Why did you choose that as the first thing people will hear? And what are you hoping it's going to tell them about the record?
I just chose it because it's funky and it's got a cool little guitar hook, and it's me and Al and Stan, just really reacting to each other, which is a live vibe that, I think is, in my wheelhouse, and and it's accessible, and in fact, it's one of those kind of grooves that the lyric was kind of born out of, and I love that kind of a song. So I just kind of like just spat it out, and then I refined it really quickly, and then I had to figure out what it was about. And I was making a video for it, and I didn't really know what it was about. And I was like trying to figure out what it was about. And my mind always goes to, girl, girl guy, that whole thing. Right. And then at a certain point I said, man, I'm like over 60. Like, I can't do that kind of video. It's ridiculous. What the fuck is this about? And I started thinking about it, and I realized it's about the guitar. It's about the electric guitar. It's like the pedigree is the guitar's pedigree. We live in this world where guys like are constantly collecting these guitars, and it's just a huge subject. And I, of course, have a bunch of guitars because I'm a guitar player, and I know a lot about guitars, and I've been playing guitar my whole life. And I suddenly realized, it's like the guitars come with pedigrees. They come with these sort of backstories. They're also like, some of them are like, they signify, like you have this guitar that looks like, Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar, and pretty soon you've got the hat and you're playing there's all, and it just goes on and on, right? Like, the Les Paul, and it's connected to this person or that person. But the key, that's the whole thing. The first line of the song is what you've been squeezing, making lemonade. It's sort of like, you could be making lemonade. And it's funny because the cats that make the video with me are actually from Macedonia, and English is their second language. And their very first read on that lyric was completely literal. And so they just handed me all this stuff. It looked like it was on the Food Channel, I'm like, no, dude, it's not about lemonade. It's not about greens. It's not really about the barbecue. It's not about any of those things, really. It's like, squeezing the guitar, the food. So the recipe is like what you bring, is what you bring. It's like your identity, your expression.
Love
right?
that.
You need your own expression, and then you're putting you're squeezing yourself into this thing, and what your experience is, right? And that's really where I'm coming from, is because I'm
Mm.
trying to express myself essentially, as a guitar player first. Me as a singer comes from me as a guitar player, and in the last 10 years, like I've than I used to sing, and it's actually brought a lot more to the to the guitar. So it's all sort of very guitar centric. So that's why I
Mm.
led with the song. Is because and then when I started to put those things together, it's funny how that works, right? Like I didn't actually really realize that meaning until I really sort of started digging into making this video and thinking about the song. You know what I mean? And then I started putting it together, and I realized, oh my God, this is exactly what it is. It's like it's my recipe, and the pedigree is just something that I know about. It's like, I've been looking at these instruments all my life, and it's like,
Mm.
and the images in the video then became, they started to be really, guitar centric to me.
Well, I'd love to tap into that a little bit more because one of the things that I noticed was on this record, it seemed like a lot of songs were personality driven and not just performance driven. So I want to touch on what you were just kind of hinting on, but when you're writing for yourself, what usually does come first? Is it the story? Is it the groove? Is it the lyric? Or is it the feel of the track?
It really depends. Like if I'm writing myself, if it's just me, it can come in different ways. Like I just talked about that one song. Another tune that's like 100% me is like the Buffalo song, which is like it came from these little tidbits of life that started turning into things that, I'm just slightly on the spectrum, I guess. It's like I'll repeat stuff in my head, little riffs. I'm a riff guy, so I did vocal riffs, idea riffs. And I'm like, so I'd start repeating these little things like 10 Smiles, and it'll turn into something. It'll start to morph. So a lot of stuff is conversational between my girlfriend and myself, really. Like, I'm traveling a lot, but we communicate a lot. And so I ride a lot of planes. And one day I started calling, we have this picture that has a dog on a whale. It's a collage that I would have loved to use it for the record, but I couldn't get in touch with the guy that made it. It's a bull terrier with a pipe in its mouth, and it's on a whale. And
Oh, okay.
so I started just identifying. I identified myself as the dog, actually, and I started thinking about these planes as whales, right? So I'd start to say to Abby, like, yeah, I'm boarding the whale, I'm on the whale, I'm in the whale. When's the whale? And that song, the Buffalo song, started to form out of that idea, and so first first line is very simple. I spend a lot of time talking to my girlfriend. She's an angel, you know, and we're talking about this whale, and then but the whale is actually, okay, it's real, it's a real whale, so I'll write it straight. And anyways, the whole lyric came out of that. The whole idea came out of that, and it's really all about like thinking about stuff when you're on a plane, really, because a lot of that lyric I wrote on an airplane,
That's
and
crazy.
but it wasn't anything, and so there was no music, right? Like it was
All right.
just this idea, and then what happened is I was listening to NPR in the middle of the night one night, and I suddenly heard this story about buffaloes, and the guy was saying, yeah, the buffalo's the only animal that'll walk right into a storm because it's the fastest way through the storm.
Oh, wow.
Every other animal like run away from the storm or like go hide, but the buffaloes, they just fucking see the storm and they walk right into the storm. And so I heard that and it got in my head, and I was like, and it just became the third line of this tune. So as soon as the tune was like, there's an angel standing right in front of me saying, I will ride the whale straight into the sea and I won't fail. I'll straight true to form. Yeah, I will ride the buffalo straight into the storm. And as soon as that happened, the entire music happened.
Oh, no kidding, man.
Yeah,
So they're
and
just
it's
words
kind
on
of
a
like,
page,
yeah,
inspired by NPR,
yeah,
and then everything just kind of came to life after that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was all sort of, and it's I have like three themes basically. There's like I grew up by the railroad tracks, so there's trains. I spend all my time like touring around playing rock and roll, so there's planes,
Planes.
right? You know, and then there's the wild card, which is love, probably. human
Well, your
relationship.
girlfriend seems to inspire a lot in the lyrics, or at least the direction of the songs,
And on
perhaps.
this one, definitely, yeah, it's true. Indirectly, it's not so much, a Rapunzel thing. It's more just like we're very conversational, and so then stuff gets in my head, and then and it's a free relationship. We're free with each other, so
All right.
I don't, this stuff gets in my head, and then it comes out, and it can express itself, on the guitar in a song, whatever. I'm lucky like that.
That I
Yeah.
mean, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so that tune became psychedelic. I thought this is a psychedelic tune. It's jammy in the middle. It's got this great jam section in the middle. And, and there's a lot of interplay between the instruments. And I really, like my last record that I did, really didn't have like that kind of a psychedelic jam song. And I'm really, that's in my history. And the Spin Doctors are very jammy. And I really
Yeah.
wanted to I really wanted to represent that and express that type of a vibe. So there's
I
an
think you
example.
nailed it. You nailed
Thanks,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then there's
Yeah.
there's other tunes. There's other tunes on the record that are I work with. I'm a pretty heavy No Kings guy. I like collaborating. I like democracy in music a lot.
Mm.
I like playing with people, and I have a couple of people that I write with over the years. And one person that I'd like to point to is my dear old friend Corky Laing. I don't know if you know who Corky Laing is. Corky Laing is the drummer for Mountain, and he wrote Mississippi Queen, and we've been playing and working together for 35 years, and
Wow.
we write lots of songs together. And so a couple of the tunes on this record are are co-comps with Corky, myself, and we write the lyrics and the music together. Like we have a really good interplay, and we're kind of one generation apart. I mean, we pretty much could be brothers. So the two songs are I Get the Picture and Hit on Me. Those two tunes are collaborations between Corky and myself. And Hit on Me is really interesting because he's a drummer, and we were jamming, and he had this idea for a tune based on hitting the drum. And I should qualify this. We'll write a tune over a decade, right? Like we've just got our
Take your
kitchen.
time.
Our
Yeah.
kitchen, as it were, has a bunch of pots on the stove. So we'll come back. I don't see them all the time. We'll reconvene. We'll go back to this. We'll go back to that idea. We'll go back to this idea. Sometimes this idea becomes that idea, and it's really cool. And so we had this thing for years, literally hit on it. We're gonna got to hit on it, hit on it, hit on it, and we didn't really know. Sort of like what I was saying before. We were sort of like of the same mind. We really didn't know what it was. I knew it was a drummer. He's a drummer. He hits things. And then one day, like about 6 months ago, um, it I had this like little half demo of that song, and I just finished it, and it became this like love song, and it went from hit on it to hit on me, and it suddenly was about seeing this couple fighting in this this person, this girl, and I'm just like, hey, you don't deserve that. Hit on me instead. I'm right here. And so that song happened like that, and I fucking love that song, man. It's like a Stones tune. It's got this great kind of swagger to it, and it's the type of thing too. When I write with Corky, I played in a group with him and Noel Redding for a while, and I had this great experience one day. There's a Spin Doctor song that we have called "Off My Line," and I did it with those two guys, and I just presented it to them, and it has the groove that it has. It goes like da 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 da, and Aaron plays it one way, and I presented it to Noel and Corky, who are like '60s guys, and they instantly started playing. Like that sort of hush, touch me doors vibe, right? So my point is that like with Cork, it's like there's this kind of like loose permission to like dip into 60s and 70s, and it's like a viable route. It's not like I'm trying to write a Stones tune, or
Right.
it's not like that at all. It's like I've got like this direct line to to the universe, to that universe, right? With Corky. So finish, and I love finishing our ideas. So I just, and either one of us can finish. They're just sitting on the stove, right? He can finish anything he wants to too. He records, he writes and finishes our ideas too, right? So one day I just finished that hit on me. I was just like, yeah, that's how that was born. And then picture's just a tune. That's his line. I get the picture, and or it might have been both of us together. I get the picture. I'm going to get framed. It's from a long time ago, and then everything else is me just finishing the song. So it's got this great head, and it's like it's groovy like a it's kind of like a ZZ Top boogie, but it doesn't sound like Lagrange. It doesn't have that same guitar part. And that's kind of what I'm saying about Recipe too. It's sort of like these ideas, the boogie, the shuffle, cold little feelings, like they're derivative, but in the lyric and in the presentation of the expression of the guitar, it's just my take on it, and I play so much over the years that like it's not just like a rip. It's more like, me sort of struggling through these grooves over my lifetime, trying to figure out where I am in it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's Cold Little Feelings. That's which is a killer shuffle. That's another one that dropped out of my head. That's my tune. I don't even know how that happened. That lyric just sort of happened. You know, I'm
Well,
doing a lot of talking. Sorry.
no, I love it because you're giving us a look what goes into making these songs. And you also uncovered a mystery for me because when I was listening to the record, most of the songs on the record felt deeply familiar, even though I've never heard the song before. I'm like,
Right.
oh
Right.
yeah, I feel like I've heard this song before, but I haven't.
Right.
And it was because maybe that deep roots that you were just saying, like,
Yeah.
oh, it feels like a Stone song, or it feels like this, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's just because that was the chemistry that came together in the room,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
love that because I was
Yeah.
immediately like I was hooked to the beat and the
Yeah.
rhythm
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
That's how I feel too. That's why. And in fact, the genesis of the record is exactly that, because it came out of a recording session where I just was recording. I just wanted to record "Hit on Me" in Cadillac, and I call it Cadillac Eldorado. And then Recipe sort of happened in that session, and then Stan and Al Cross, Stan Miczek, and my co-producer and recordist Aaron Goldstein. We just sort of were in Aaron's studio. I just went there. It was a free afternoon. There was no intention of going to make a record at all. And at the end of this session, it was just like, man, this is a great team, and we're like interpreting this shit really well. And that's another piece of the puzzle, right? Because in order to have that kind of deeply familiar hook, referring to hooks and expression and stuff like that, you really need people playing together. I mean, unless you're just sitting with an acoustic guitar. So all of the rest of it just kind of grew, right out of that. And I play with these guys every week. So you're getting like a connection with the players that's, over a decade. I've been playing with these guys loosely since 2000, like off and on with different people. But then my gig for the last 10 years, a lot. And so, all this, it all dovetails together.
Eric, I really appreciate you spending time with me. And I just want to thank Experience Vinyl again for making this interview happen. For everyone watching, 10 Smiles is available to pre-order through experiencevinyl.com. I'll be sure to include a link in the description. Eric, before
Yes.
we wrap up, what do you hope people feel when they sit down and listen to this record all the way through?
I hope that the feeling that I had recording it, playing it, and putting it together I hope it's evident in the same way that I mean it. What I mean to say when I say that is that the tunes on the record are connected. In my history, they're connected. They're not all just from yesterday or today. They're from, like I told you, the example with Cadillac is, an idea for many, many years. There's a couple of blues on there that are co-comps with my Spin Doctor brothers that I've reformed. There's like my favorite cover song that I sing when I sing live, which is a Tyrone Davis song in 1966. can I change my mind? And then there's all the rest of them. And I feel they're connected. And I feel that somehow together they represent really my story in the best way that I've put it, really in my life. Like this is the most, and I've done it with, I forgot to mention Cody Dickinson was also a part of this record. He and I started, well, we co-wrote the song Christina, which is actually about the bar that I play at Grossman's Tavern. It's actually an ode to the place that I work at. The people that I thank on the record are people that like are all a part of this experience. They're all a part of making all of these songs run together. And I believe that if you listen to this record, if I've mixed it well enough, well, I didn't mix it, but if I, that I think that that's the feeling that you'll get because I have a pretty good gauge for that. Like I have a good intuition, and I felt like when like I told you, I referred to that first session, and I just kind of felt like when that session happened, I sort of felt like, uh-oh, I got to make this, I got to make a record with this because you don't like get that opportunity all the time. And I've had it a few times, particularly like with the Spin Doctors Pocket Full of Kryptonite. That's a great example. It's like we just knew, we felt it. It was like this is a temporal thing. This is a moment in time, and it's like with a camera. It's like I just wanted to catch it, And I've done my best. It didn't take that long to make. It was sort of over the last 5 months, and I've tried to capture that moment in 10 Smiles, And I've told you that that's like a Zen positive affirmation philosophy, for anybody that's listening, that, I don't feel good all the time, but, I just like to be on my journey, and I like to try to just tell myself it's going to be okay. And this is just an offering, like, of that. So that's my answer.
Love it, Eric. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. 10 Smiles, experiencevinyl.com. Link in the description below. Great to have you on
Yeah.
the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. It's been really a pleasure. Thanks. I appreciate it.